Vanessa, what drew you to the world of activism? And then what made you take on the climate crisis?
Yeah, my very first involvement was really in 2018. That's when I started to carry out research about the challenges that the people in my country, Uganda, were facing. And at that point, I found out that climate change was one of those challenges. We do study about climate change in school. Most of the students have, read about it in geography class, but it doesn't carry like the reality of what is happening. So you study it, you do the exams, and you go to the next class. So I didn't really understand the impact of climate change while in school. But in my research, I got to see the impacts, and I got to understand the landslides that were happening, in areas like Bududa, Bundibujo, the flooding, the droughts that were impacting very many people in Uganda. That is what really triggered me to start asking questions and doing more research about what causes climate change and why is it that people are suffering right now. And in that, I decided I had to do something about it. And being inspired by Greta Thunberg from Sweden, I started to strike for the climate.
I've read that you've said that you don't want to be the go-to African voice on this issue, on climate change. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I have had experiences where I am called the voice of the African continent when it comes to climate activism, and that is not something that I want to be called, because I think it's very problematic in a way, because it erases the voices of other activists that are doing incredible work. I'm not the first activist on the African continent or even the first activist in Uganda. There have been people that have been organizing and mobilizing for years, and I just happened to also join this movement that was already there of different organizers. So when I am called a representative or something like that, it erases the work of other activists. And the experiences that I see in Uganda, for example, with the landslides and the floods, may not be the experiences that another activist sees in their country. And I may carry a statistic of what is happening in Kenya or in South Africa, but I may not carry the experience. And that's why there is a need for those stories in those communities to tell, to have their own platforms, to be amplified, and for people to know that the climate movement is more than one face or two faces. It's a whole global movement with millions of activists that are organizing and mobilizing and transforming their communities. And this is something that I say so many times: every activist has a story to tell, and every story has a solution to give, and every solution has a life to change.